Hi, I thought I'd make a quick video about the first trial of the fridge and just a few things that went wrong to keep in mind for the next trial, or like hopefully the next final version. There's some mess in the background that's just from, just cutting up and working on this. So a few mistakes, like where it really started like going wrong. So I'll go from the beginning. Like taping up, the edges are like they're like not aligned correctly, and so some of the pieces are on the outside. Of course it's been taped over so you can't really see, and some of them are sticking inside. So I actually, after measuring out everything, originally each side is supposed to be the same like length and width, but what happened is after taping it together, some parts were sticking out and some were, just not lining up or too short. So I actually had to go back in and trim everything down just so it would line up. And so like now I really don't know the measurement of like each of these. I could measure it, but it would not be a proper rectangle, although right now it does look like it is. Secondly, where it went wrong is the paint. Originally I wanted to use a really thick acrylic, like I wanted to use acrylic paint, but I didn't want to water it down too much. I wanted it to be thick so you would get this like texture, as you can see here, because my refrigerator, it does have that sort of texture, but like not to the touch. It's like it's like covered up with a glossy coat on top, like I think it's resin or something. So I wanted that look, but then in lighting I realized that for photography with bright lighting it wouldn't look that good. Like it'll just look unfinished and unpolished. The bottom is not painted, and so it was really hard. And another mistake is I painted this on the outside first, which then when I was painting the inside, you can see they're like tiny little splotches of paint that shouldn't be there, which of course can be touched up, but it was quite annoying because it took 2 to 3 coats per color, even though it is quite thick acrylic. And so that was another mistake. And then something else that went wrong is I actually have 6 postcards that are supposed to go inside the fridge. Sorry for the shaky video. There's supposed to be 6 postcards that go inside the fridge, and so I measured out these like shelf holders, I would call them, and I attached them inside. And as you can see, these are like meant to be the shelves, so it's meant to just like slide in. Hold on a second. Yeah, as you can see, these are unpainted, so that's why they have like little colors and like marks of gray, but they're unpainted. And so what happened was, even though I did measure and sketch this out, I think while working I just forgot to recheck everything. I did double check it, but I don't know why. It's just ended up being like, if I were to add the other 2 shelves, there would only be spaces for 5 postcards. So one of the postcards can be at the bottom, 1 here, 2, 3, and then 4 on the top. So only 4 or 5 postcards can fit in here, but I actually meant to have 6. And so I cannot now go back in and take this off because it will ruin the paint, because these were not individually painted and then glued on. These were glued on and then painted, just because even if there was glue sticking out, I wanted it to be covered with paint. So that was another problem. Another thing was the finishing wasn't working well on these edges with the tape. It worked well on joining the thing, so everything inside is joined by tape. You can't really tell because the paint's because it was so thick, has covered it up. But yeah, the edges, they need refinement. Like these just soak up paint and then the color gets very I would say pale. I think it's not the actual color. And so those are some of the problems that I noticed with this first prototype. The size is good. I would say the measurement is like, some of the measurements, like for example the inner shelves, they fit the postcards really well. Wait, I think I have a postcard with me. Yeah, I should have a postcard somewhere here. Okay, I just found the postcard. So for example, this is one of the postcards. So this is actually, again, not refined made. This was just a test run print, and this is how it looks. So the size, I think the measurement of the inside is quite nice because it does slide in and out quite easily. Of course, these shelves are a little too loose, so they'll slide up and down, which is like really annoying, and would be hard to glue them in because you can see there's like a lot of space. Like even if I push one to its edge, there's a lot of space there. And so that's like another thing that was not working out. As you can see, they slide because they're meant to like slide in quite and just exactly fit, so it actually helps hold the shape. Because the paint, I think because of the moisture in the paint, it like started making the cardboard misshapen. It started like how do you say, like cinching towards the inside, and so that really didn't that also like misshaped the fridge, and it was harder. I didn't attach the door. Actually, I stopped it at here because after realizing the shelf mistake, I realized it would be waste of supplies if I continued working. That's why the other shelves aren't made, the door isn't made. I think like for the next trial, things to keep in mind is how to line these up correctly. So what goes on the inside, what goes on the outside, because everything was malaligned. And the shelving, I think, was done well. I think the first trial went really good. It's just I don't like how that is. I could glue it down, but I don't want that space to be on the side. I think that really is making it look not that well finished and well refined, which is something I want. Another thing to keep in mind is now I'm going to do a test run with spray paint. I found a color that matches really well for the inside of the fridge, and so I'm going to use that spray paint and hopefully it works out. I have used spray paint on this type of foam board material before, and it does cause like the paper on top because of the moisture like to wrinkle up, but I'm gonna test it on a small piece of this material before, of course, like creating the whole thing. It would save a lot of time because in between the coats of paint, like the time that they would take to dry was quite long, and so I actually ended up using a hair dryer to just sit there with hot air and just like let it help it dry up, which of course then caused more problems because they're like patches of paint that aren't dry and then patches of paint that are. So I think one of the biggest issues with this whole thing is the paint. That's the number one. Like the it's just not that effective and it's quite time consuming, and I like the finish is not worth the effort because it just looks like it's been badly painted. It doesn't have that texture that I was looking for. And the second thing I think that went really wrong with this is the shelves. I actually triple checked the measurements, and I was like, okay, I have 6 postcards, so I need to divide this. I think just while measuring it out and marking it with my ruler, because I actually put this on its side. I actually put it on its side like this, and I put my ruler along the edge over here, and then on the edge I like marked it down. I think the marking is where it went wrong. I don't think I marked it correctly. Another thing you can see is that these are not all the way to the edge, and I wanted it to be like that. Even the shelves are not meant to come all the way to the edge because I don't want the fridge door to keep getting stuck. I want it to be able to close and open quite smoothly, and so I think that is a good choice. I haven't really tested that out yet, but I'm hoping that it will end up going well. But yeah, these are just some of the mistakes I wanted to document. I have taken pictures for the sketchbook, but I really just wanted to make a video to explain, so you would see really in depth what's going wrong with it and like what changes I've made. So hopefully the final version in the video that you will see, that will be uploaded, I'm hoping that it goes extremely well. I'm confident that it will go well. I've done a lot of testing on this, so this is honestly just a first trial. And yeah, another thing quickly I just wanted to mention is I like the proportions, because it's like, you know, not like cartoon fridge, but it's also like the size is quite nice. It's around the size of a shoebox, I would say, but like a little bit more thick on the width, and so that's quite nice. Yeah, that's all.